I was having y'all, your boy Rico from RicoScores, and the Washington Commanders, as of right now, have the 3rd overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, man. I'm super excited. I don't care who you are, even if you're rooting for the Commanders to win for whatever reason, for any these rest of these games this season, one of them, all of them, whatever, you have to be happy hearing that we have the 3rd overall pick. And first of all, we got to talk about what are our scenarios at this point. Like, how far could we fall if we end up somehow beating the 49ers and or the Cowboys? But also, how high can we get if we lose out? And we also got to talk about what teams could help us rise in picks. Who are we rooting for to win? Who's in our way of getting the #1 overall pick right now? It's not very likely, but who's in our way? Who do we need to be rooting for and against and all of that type of stuff? Because right now we have the 3rd overall pick, even though we have the same exact record as the Patriots, even though we beat them because of strength of schedule. So we got to talk about that as well, and how strength of schedule affects everything. So we're going to dive into all of that. Also, we're going to take a look at all of our draft picks as of today as well, because it's not just the 1st round draft pick. That's why I'm so serious about having the highest draft pick possible, because we were like 2 picks away from Brian Branch. And so if we had a higher 1st round pick, which would have resulted in also having a higher 2nd round pick, 3rd round pick, 4th round pick, we wouldn't have missed Brian Branch by 2 picks. The Lions traded up like literally 2 picks before us and took him. If you have a higher 1st round pick, you also have a higher 2nd round pick. People keep thinking it's just a 1st round pick thing. No, it's just not. Also, another reason, a really good reason to have a high draft pick is that it potentially attracts a better group of GMs. It opens your doors to more great GM candidates, potentially head coaching candidates, to come in, and you know for a fact the team that you're potentially about to go into when you're doing job interviews and stuff has a top 5 pick, let alone a top 3 pick, which we currently have right now, and it could get even better. Hey man, I'm telling y'all right now. So I'm super excited about our future, and we're going to talk about all of that and more. But before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, man. I really appreciate y'all big time for all the support during the live stream. Even though that game was terrible, it got exciting towards the end, but the stream was very fun. And shouts out to all of y'all that donated. I really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to all of the new channel members. Welcome to the RicoScores family. And of course, like I keep saying, I keep promising y'all, it's on the way. I promise y'all, especially when we get into this off season and there's not much else to talk about, especially after a dead period, like in between the time after we hire a GM, head coach, and all of that, and then before we get to like the draft and free, or even just before we even get to free agency, that ugly period between like January to like March and all of that. I got y'all, man. We're gonna do a whole lot of channel member exclusive stuff, so stay tuned. And a lot of just content in general, a lot of mock drafts, free agency mocks as well, because it's not just the draft. I'm gonna do off-season mocks where we're taking a look at, well, if we attack these position groups aggressively in free agency, then that means we need to prioritize other position groups in the draft. So I'm gonna do mock off seasons as well, so stay tuned for all of that. And without further ado, man, let's get it.
He's our quarterback for the 5-10 years, and I truly believe that.
Now, first of all, who do we need to thank? Because we're not tanking. This is not a tank, but still, who do we need to thank, man? And shouts out to Greg Zuerlein of the Jets and Chad Ryland of the Patriots, 2 goated kickers today, man. We needed those for this draft pick. We needed both of them to end up with the 3rd overall draft pick, because even with Greg Zuerlein hitting the game winner against us, and that was big time, man. That, thank you for making a 54-yarder with 5 seconds left while the Jets were down. They blew a 20-point lead, and that's just amazing. Made it with 5 seconds left. We had no chance to do anything afterwards. But even after Greg Zuerlein made that and we lost the game, that didn't automatically propel us up from the 4th overall pick to the 3rd. We needed the Patriots to win. So that's where my boy Chad Ryland came in with this game winner right here.
Left.
I mean, dog, if I see Chad Ryland in real life, I'm gonna have to dap him up, dog. Like, hey, man, Hey, appreciate you. Me wearing a Commanders jersey, he's not even gonna understand why I have so much love and admiration for him. But boy, hey, my boy Chad Ryland, appreciate you, because I believe he even missed a kick earlier in that game, like right off the goalpost or something like that. But you made the one that mattered most. That thing was a 56-yard game winner. That boy was on the eye of the Broncos logo, man. Hey, man, shouts out to you. And hey, it was crazy too. It was so much chaos because after he made that game winner, Tankathon crashed. I don't remember ever seeing Tankathon crash. Maybe this is a thing that happens, but I'm the type that checks Tankathon very often, immediately after our games and things like that. This is the first time I've ever seen them crash. Like, if you don't believe me, it looked exactly like this. Like, you could tell everybody and their mama was trying to get on Tankathon to see, okay, what happened now? What happened now? What pick do I have now? Especially when it comes to Patriots, Commanders fans who were directly involved in that game right there against the Broncos. Maybe a lot of Broncos fans were trying to see what draft pick they had as well. It was chaos, man. It was like, wow. So to update y'all on the current draft order, you have the Carolina Panthers, whose pick goes to the Bears. The Bears end up with that first round pick. They have a 2-13 record. The Arizona Cardinals second pick with a 3-12 record. Then there's us with a 4-11 record, and then the New England Patriots also with a 4-11 record. But that's because their strength of schedule is 0.02 stronger than ours. We're going to talk about that and why that matters. And then you also have the Tennessee Titans 5th, the Chargers 6th, Giants 7th, Chicago Bears 8th, New York Jets 9th, Las Vegas Raiders 10th, and it goes on and on and on. Falcons are 11th after the win they had today. I'm kind of happy that they moved back in the draft order, man. I'm such a big Falcons hater. I'm sorry, dog. But moving on, when you're looking at the Commanders draft picks, I'm pretty sure y'all don't necessarily care about other teams, but if you do, you can go ahead and look it up. It's on tankathon.com. Right now, the Commanders have the 3rd overall pick, the 36th overall pick, and the 41st overall pick, both in the second round, the 36th and the 41st. That's why we actually need to be rooting for the Bears to start losing games from now on, because the more they lose, the higher that draft pick we got in return for Montez Sweat that's currently 41st, it can move up. And right now, I think we're pretty settled with 36. And because I just don't see us beating the 49ers and Cowboys. I'm going to talk about how, like, at worst, our draft pick could be if we just lose out for the rest of this season. But it's going to stay somewhere in the range of 36 or whatever, like at worst type of thing. And we'll see how everything else is affected. But we also still have that 67th overall pick in the 3rd round. And then also that 100th pick in the 3rd round that comes from San Francisco, which is going to be a compensatory pick, which is crazy. We traded Chase Young, not even for just a 3rd round pick, but a 3rd round compensatory pick, the very last one possible potentially. Then we have a 4th round pick, 104th overall. 5th round pick, 137th overall, and then 6th round pick, 180th overall, and a 7th round pick, 221st overall. I'm telling y'all, man, it's not just the first round. The higher draft pick we have in this first round, people don't realize that the higher your draft, I mean, I'm pretty sure people know, but people don't really think about it enough and realize how much it truly affects everything when it comes to 2nd and 3rd round. We were 2 picks away from Brian Branch. Even before that, Martin Mayhew and Ron Rivera said they really wanted to trade up for like a better offensive lineman. But we were so far back in the draft, nobody was willing to trade up from where we were trying to trade up to all the way back down to where we were, because it was just too far of a jump. That's why having a higher draft pick helps you in so many different ways, even just outside of the elite players in the top 10 of the draft. You got to think beyond that, man. It's more trade value. Say if you're trying to move even 2nd round wise, let's say we're trying to go from 41 to 38. That's easier to do that with a 41st overall pick than like a 52nd. Or even if you are able to do it, you're going to have to give up way more trade value to make that work. Again, we've already done a whole breakdown. I already showed y'all exactly what the draft value chart looks like. And like, if you're taking this pick, what picks you got to combine to trade up or trade back from certain picks and things like that. We already did that in another video. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. But yeah, man, shouts out to the Patriots because their win led to us having the 3rd overall pick in the draft. Shouts out to y'all. And again, just to go ahead and explain this real quick, I've explained this in other videos, and shouts out to the entire podcast for wording it perfectly. The Commanders hold the strength of schedule tiebreaker over the Patriots. Even though we beat them, their strength of schedule is 0.002 stronger than ours right now. So as long as they have a stronger strength of schedule, when the season ends, we're good. Even if we have the same exact record, we don't even have to worry about the Patriots winning or not, as long as their opponents keep winning. So basically right now, the New York Giants, Philadelphia Eagles, Las Vegas Raiders, and San Francisco are all opponents of Washington and New England, and they all play tomorrow, which is really interesting. So hopefully once those games are played, the Commanders still hold the tiebreakers. We'll see. But basically, we need to actively be rooting for the Patriots' opponents on all up and down their schedule to win as many games as possible. That's a whole nother conversation in itself to dive into the Patriots schedule and see all the teams we need to be rooting for. But let's hope that they keep winning. And at the end of the day, maybe the Patriots somehow in these last two games end up winning one more, and then we don't even have to worry about that deeply. But hey, man, strength of schedule matters. It doesn't matter who beats who. At the end of the day, they look at what's your records. If y'all have the same record, but the other team has a lower strength of schedule, which is us in our case, they're like, well, you have to be worse if your schedule is easier and you still have the same record. That's the logic. Just to basically break that down for you. Also, shouts out to Tan Todd Podcast for this as well. Basically, we want everybody that the Patriots have on their schedule to win and everyone on the Commanders schedule to lose. So tomorrow, we want the Ravens and Raiders to win. Root for the Ravens and Raiders to win. Or today. By the time y'all are watching this, it's probably today. By the time I released it, it's probably as in today on Christmas. And now let's take a look at the possible outcomes. Well, as of right now, mathematically, after this loss and everything that's gone down so far, the worst pick we could end up getting is the 10th pick in the draft. That's if we literally win out and everybody around us, ahead of us in the draft, behind us in the draft, lose out. The very worst pick we could potentially end up with right now, no matter what happens, like somehow we beat the 49ers, we beat the Cowboys, all of that, we end up with the 10th pick. Because right now we only have 4 wins and the Falcons are 11th with 7 wins. There's only 2 games left. At worst, we can win is 2 wins right now. Get 2 more wins out of it. So at worst case scenario, our record could end up being 6-11. But again, there's no way. But if we lose out, the 4th pick is the worst case scenario. Because again, for reasons I've already stated, if we lose out and the Patriots lose out, but somehow the Patriots' strength of schedule ends up being easier statistically, mathematically by the end of the season, then they would skip right ahead of us for the 3rd pick once again. But like I keep saying, just lose out, man. It's that simple. Just lose out. And there's also a chance for us to have the number 1 overall pick. If somehow the Carolina Panthers, with a tougher strength of schedule as ours, I mean, we'll see what happens these last couple of games, but right now their strength of schedule is the exact same as the Patriots with a .522 and ours is a .520. Right now we have the softest strength of schedule out of all of the teams in the top 6 picks. So literally, if we lose out and somehow the Panthers win their last 2 games and the Arizona Cardinals at least win one more game, one of these last 2 games, we can literally get the number 1 overall pick in the draft. That is crazy, y'all. That is absolutely insane. But like I said, like I keep saying, we don't even have to root against the Commanders, y'all. Because even when we root for them to win, they lose. So it's just, come on, dog. I feel like we don't even have to worry. I mean, after you lose to the Jets with Trevor Siemian starting, what's the worry about losing potentially to the 49ers and the Cowboys, even if Jacoby Brissett plays, to be completely honest? Like, honestly, you could argue that the Trevor Siemian-led Jets is probably the worst team we played all season. Literally. And we still got to play the 49ers and the Cowboys, who, I want to emphasize, are both have something to play for. Like, both of those guys are fighting for a better seeding. You know, typically, like last year, by the time we played the Cowboys, that last game of the season, whatever happened, you know, maybe they could move up a seed, but that's like at best. And so by like the middle of the 3rd quarter, we were already whooping them even with their starters in, which is really interesting in itself. They just went ahead and sat their starters because it's like, man, we're not about to get hurt over this. It's not that serious. We already made the playoffs. But this time around is different. The Cowboys, I don't think they're necessarily in trouble of falling out of the playoffs, but hey, man, this NFC East feels like it's pretty much up for grabs. They're on a losing streak. The Eagles have struggled lately, so they gotta, hey, man, Cowboys, I feel like are gonna be fighting their hearts out that last game of the season. They're gonna try to do us how they did us on Thanksgiving this time around, rather than how they played last year, the last game of the season. And again, the 49ers, I think they have a lot to play for as well. The Seahawks look pretty good. The Rams look pretty good. Matter of fact, I can actually pull up the NFC West standings right now so that I'm not just sitting here lying to y'all. Oh no, I mean, they have an 11 game lead. We'll see how this goes. I mean, they still got to play another game. Who knows? I mean, if they lose somehow, They go 11-4. Nah, it's pretty much over. So the 49ers got it for their division-wise, but again, we're talking about seeding. If we're talking about seeding, let me make sure again, I could be lying. I'm looking this stuff up as I'm going along right now. Hey, man, if the 49ers don't win another game, and then the Eagles and or Cowboys win both of their last 2 games each, they could surpass the 49ers for the number 1 seed in the NFC, and that's big, man. So yeah, the 49ers have something to play for. Literally, if they beat us, they can basically probably just rest their starters the last game of the season. I'm not even sure about that because they will have 12 wins. The Eagles and Cowboys are probably going to have 11 wins each, and I don't know how the tiebreaker will go, even though I feel like the tiebreaker will go to the 49ers because I believe they have beat the Eagles and the Cowboys, I believe. Yeah, I'm almost sure of that. So maybe they get it regardless after beating us next week, but I don't know. But either way, beating us next week is very advantageous and rewarding for the 49ers. They're going to play their hearts out. And again, the Cowboys right now, we'll see what happens with the Eagles tomorrow, as in today, Christmas. But if they lose somehow and they end up 10-5, them and the Cowboys are each 10-5, and those last 2 games are going to come down to the wire. They're going to be playing their hearts out. So again, I'm saying all of that to say that you do not have to worry about the Commanders potentially winning another game this season, because the 49ers and Cowboys are taking us very seriously. They're not overlooking us. They know what they have to do. So the Jets, on the other hand, we couldn't even beat the Jets with Trevor Siemian. We couldn't beat the Giants once, and we had to play their backups both times. What's his name? Tyrod Taylor the first time, and Tom DeVito the second. We made Tom DeVito the New York version of Taylor Heineke, getting interviews everywhere, all of this Italian culture stuff and all that. His agent doing a whole press run, getting even more interviews than him. Like, that's the type of the boost we've given people and teams from when we played them. We made the Bears look great this season, and they've been better than people expected, but they probably had their best game of the season against us, you can argue. I feel like we were their biggest blowout this season in their favor. And again, we couldn't beat the Jets with Trevor Siemian. What chance? Y'all don't even have to worry about us potentially beating the 49ers or Cowboys no matter who we play. And then on top of that, our whole team is hurt. Come on, dog. We're good. Also, shouts out to Tan Top Podcast for this. If Arizona and New England can each win 1 more games, the Commanders will be locked in at number 2. Let's talk about that scenario. If somehow the Arizona Cardinals at least win 1 game between at Philly and versus Seattle, which I doubt happens, but I would love it, we'll be locked in at number 2 but New England also has to win a game at Buffalo or versus the Jets. And that's a little bit more likely. I mean, maybe the Seahawks are sitting their starters for some crazy reason. That last game in the season, the Cardinals win that. Maybe the Patriots are somehow able to beat the Jets. I mean, the Jets beat us and we beat the Patriots. We'll see how that goes. But hey, just to let you know, if we lose out and the Arizona Cardinals and New England Patriots win at least 1 more game this season each, we will have at least the number 2 pick. It doesn't even matter what happens to the Panthers. Again, I highly doubt the Panthers will lose out, but if they do, if we lose out and the Panthers lose out and the Cardinals at least win 1 more game, Patriots lose 1 more game, we have the number 1 pick on lock. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. You know what GMs and head coaches we will have fighting for? We won't be fighting for them. They'll be fighting for us to have a potential number 1 overall pick, to potentially have the chance to get Caleb Williams if you want him. You know what type of pool of GMs we'll have to pick from? We'll have them all lining up waiting for job interviews, man. We could talk to them any kind of way and they'll still be ready for us to hire them, man. Come on, dog. And just to keep before we get up out of here, the logic behind losing out, man, for those of y'all that are talking about pride again, my whole thing is, what pride in beating the Jets? I can see maybe the 49ers and the Cowboys. I can see it. I disagree, but I can see it. I don't see any pride in beating the Trevor Siemian-led Jets. Y'all think that would help our players in the future? Like, look back next year in the offseason or whatever and be like, well, we did beat the Trevor Siemian-led Jets. You know, there's some optimism in the air. We got a little momentum going into this offseason. You know, no, we're not. Like, it's not like potential free agents that are coming up from other teams are looking at, oh man, the way the Commanders beat them Jets, man, I might want to go play there next year. No GM, no head coach is looking like, man, the way them boys played them Jets, I want to coach that team. There's no gain in beating the Jets. I'm telling y'all that now, especially if Jacoby Brissett would have had to come in and do it, like how we almost just did in that situation where even Sam Howell doesn't benefit from it. There's no reason. But shouts out my boy Grant Paulson for this. He said, quote, I'll make this quick because I'm not going going to spend any more time arguing about this, and I'm kind of tired of it as well. Of course, draft picks are crapshoots. Picking higher is still better. Picking 2 or 3 versus 8 is invaluable in terms of trade back value. Also keeps elite quarterback prospects options in play. If we end up with a top 2 pick, pick your quarterback. Most importantly, it's a great asset to sweeten the pot as you try to land a GM or a head coaching candidate other teams are also talking to. Adam Schefter already said a couple of weeks ago it's probably going to be 7 to 10 head coaching openings right now. And I just did a video a couple of days ago about how the Commanders rank 7th in the NFL in head coaching openings as of right now. If you end up with a top 2 pick, or right now even with us having a top 3 pick, that automatically makes us more attractive to a lot of those head coaches. But according to ESPN right now, and I did a whole video breakdown on that and why I feel like we should already be higher than 7, and also things we could do to become higher than 7 out of 10 head coaching openings potentially this offseason. But man, that draft pick will definitely make it way easier for us, put us in a way better situation to get the right GM and the right head coach. It is going to be a lot of competition out there for guys, man, like a Ben Johnson or something like that. There's a lot of competition. Ben Johnson already said no to the Panthers, who had the #1 overall pick at one point. Then they traded it away to get Bryce Young and all that type of stuff to the Bears. But hey, man, we'll see. Everything about the team's future gets a lot better if they pick in the top 3, and it's looking like we're destined to do that. Odds are that we're more than likely picking in the top 3, but it's not for certain. Even if we lose out, depending on what the Patriots do, strength of schedule and stuff like that, we could still end up moving back to 4. But it's seeming like losing out wise, moving back to 4 is worst case scenario, and I can live with that. But boy, I would love a #2 and #1 overall pick, man. Also, going back and like really diving deep into that trade back value thing that Grant Paulson said, trading back, say, from 2 to 3 rather than 8 to 2 is completely different. Say Arizona, say Arizona, because they're clearly not going quarterback, it would be a win-win for them. Right now they have the 2nd overall pick, we have the 3rd. For them to just move back 1 spot, get whatever trade value they can get in return for that, rather than risking trading too far back to where, like, say 8, and then now you're out of the Marvin Harrison sweepstakes, you're out of the Olu Fashanu sweepstakes, maybe even Joe Alt as well. But moving back to 3, allowing us to trade up 1 spot to get our quarterback, they move back 1 spot, still get the top guy they want, and it's a win-win for them because they still get the guy they originally wanted at the 2nd overall pick. He's still there clearly because we're trading up for a quarterback, and they added a little bit of trade value, a little bit of draft capital, basically. Maybe they would net like a 2nd or 3rd round pick from that. Who knows? Again, I will have to look at the draft value trade chart and all that type of stuff. I already did a whole video on that. So it's kind of a win-win there if we wanted to dive into that. Also, Grant Paulson brings up another great point. 1 more loss after 20 plus years is not going to change much. It's not, man. 1 more loss is not going to hurt your feelings compared to since I've been alive, all we've pretty much done is losing. And I keep saying being good is the enemy of great. This constant being average and good is the reason why we've never become great. A lot of these teams that were worse than us have surpassed us, because they finally just embraced the fact that, hey, man, let's just be terrible, get these great players, and keep it pushing. Look at the 49ers, look at the Jaguars, look at the Dolphins, look at a lot of teams that we were laughing at. Browns, look at a lot of teams we were laughing at, and now they're better than us right now. We got to stop sitting there. Being good to average is never going to get you anywhere. It's really hard to go from that to great. You typically go from good to average to terrible to great. Right now, we keep being in that good to average part. Now we're actually pretty terrible, which is, I guess, a good thing for our future. Maybe we can get out of this cycle. Again, trust me, as an Atlanta person, somebody from Atlanta, watching the Hawks and Falcons constantly be average my whole middle school and high school life, and they're just never going anywhere. They're never good enough to do anything respectable, anything meaningful, anything memorable that you look back and you feel nostalgia thinking about and talking about, discussing it with your friends and family. And they're also just were never bad enough to get an elite player. Now the NBA is worse. NBA, literally, you have to tank, it almost feels like. It's way less likely to get a great player outside of the top few picks in the NBA. NFL, it's a little bit easier with mid-round, late-round draft picks to still hit really high. But still, man, a better draft pick is only beneficial to us, bro. I'm telling y'all right now. Being good is the enemy of being great. I'm going to keep telling y'all that, man. Also, shouts out to All Galaxy for this. I agree. The Commanders are entering Week 17 with the number 3 overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft. Getting number 2 is very possible. Massive development given what's happened with Sam Howell right now. This horrendous season may end with something great. Because right now, we are a QB needing team right now. So you can go ahead and start getting them Drake May Commander swaps going. And if we somehow magically end up with the number 1 overall pick, you can start getting them Caleb Williams jersey swaps going, but people are already getting them Drake May jersey swaps going. But honestly, though, even while we're looking at a Drake May jersey swap for the Commanders, and he looked pretty good in it, I'm not gonna lie, man. I'm more of a Jaden Daniels guy than a Drake May guy, to be completely honest with y'all. I'm sorry. Right now, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams are my top 2 kind of in the same tier. There's some worries about Jaden Daniels. I do have some things that make me worry about him a little bit, but I don't know. I'm sorry. I like Jaden Daniels a little bit more than Drake May right now. I'll put Drake May in a different tier by himself, 3rd, and then I will start to put Michael Penix and Bo Nix and all of those other guys in another tier below that right now. But of course, there's a lot of tape to watch. There's a lot of film to watch. I mean, I'm not even going to sit here and lie and act like I've watched entire Drake May games yet. But from the little bit I've seen here and there, from looking around and being a Georgia fan, seeing what Jaden Daniels has done, I feel like there's no debate. Jaden Daniels is the best quarterback in college football this past season. He won the Heisman for a reason. He did it a bit against the best competition in football. So, you could bring up whatever points why you feel like Drake May is going to be better quarterback. And I'm not even saying Jaden Daniels will be the better quarterback in the future. I have a feeling that he will. He's my preference right now, especially with how I want to build an offense. I want a more mobile guy and stuff like that. But I'm happy either way. My main point is that if you have a top 3 pick, especially a number 2 pick, which is quite possible, you have your pick at whoever this regime wants. And I'm going to keep saying this over and over again the entire offseason as well. I'm going to give y'all my opinions on what I prefer for us to do when it becomes picking between Sam Howell being our franchise quarterback and we use our draft picks to build around him, elite tackle, all of that type of stuff. If you want to do that, Olu Fashanu, Brock Bowers, whatever, versus drafting a quarterback in the 1st round. We could debate what we want to do there amongst ourselves. We can also debate, okay, if we are going quarterback and we know that is a fact and it's definitely pointing that way, I would be extremely surprised if we don't go quarterback in this upcoming draft in the 1st round. But now we're talking about quarterback, which one? We could debate all day long. Drake May's better. Jaden Daniels better. Michael Penix is better. Caleb Williams is better. Bo Nix is better. Whatever. But at the end of the day, none of those 2 debates matter, because at the end of the day, what I care about the most is that we hit on GM, the GM hires the right head coach, and then that group between Josh Harris, well, really not Josh Harris, Eugene Shin, the GM that we hire, and the head coach, whoever they prefer is who I prefer. So even though me, Rico of RicoScores, so far, again, I haven't even started diving into tape like that, so my opinion may change. Drake may end up being my number 1 quarterback by the time we reach April. Who knows? I just haven't had the time to look at it because I've been watching so much high school tape from my Georgia Bulldogs high school recruiting and stuff like that. So I've started watching college tape here and there for the draft, but I've been so stuck on high school tape right now, looking at 2025 prospects and stuff like that. I'm not going to dive into that tangent, but just know I've been watching a lot of high school football, so I haven't been able to watch as much draft stuff yet. But regardless, I don't care, honestly, what I think and who I prefer. I'm going to give y'all my opinions on who I prefer, why, provide examples, even do some film sessions for my channel members only. That's going to be exclusive content for y'all. Why I feel like Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback and what offense we can build around him. All of that type of stuff. So stay tuned for that, channel members. But at the end of the day, my priority is that the next GM, head coach, and Eugene Shin come together and draft the guy they want. And whoever they take, even if it's the guy I don't prefer, I'm going to have nothing but faith in the fact that they did their homework, they did their job, and they picked the right guy. And not only picked the right guy, but they're going to develop him the right way. They're going to give him the right offense. They're going to make an offense around him rather than trying to fit a square peg into a circular hole and fit him into the offense. No, they're going to build the offense around him. They're going to give him things that he needs to succeed. Offensive line, wide receivers, dual threat tight end, all of that type of stuff. That's all that matters at the end of the day. So we can debate back and forth about who we all prefer, but at the end of the day, who the GM and head coach prefer, Eugene Shin, matters above all else. I'm going to go ahead and say that now. I'm going to give y'all my opinions on certain things. Some of them may change change, some of them may update, whatever. But at the end of the day, just know Rico of Street Scores literally only cares about what this GM, this upcoming GM and head coach pairing want. Now, looking at the 2024 mock draft, speaking of Drake May, they have us selecting Drake May on the Tankathon updated mock draft right now. They have Caleb Williams going number 1, Marvin Harrison going number 2, Drake May after that, then Jaden Daniels 4th to the Patriots. I'm not gonna lie, Jaden Daniels on the Patriots kind of scares me. Now, Olu Fashanu to the Tennessee Titans, Joe Alt right after that to the Chargers, Malik Neighbors to the Giants. That scares me a little bit as well. Then Laiatu, however you pronounce his name, that edge, that pure pass rusher from UCLA, he was different. And then my boy Brock Bowers goes to the Jets. That's interesting. That's really interesting. Also, man, you never know. Chicago and Arizona, they may just both decide to stick with their quarterbacks. I think Arizona's not guaranteed, but they're very likely. I think the Chicago Bears are kind of a coin toss right now. Nobody knows really unless you're really involved in that building. I think that's 50-50 right now. You never know if both of those guys prefer to not take a quarterback and to build around the quarterbacks they currently have. And that could open up the possibility of us getting Caleb Williams if you're one of those people that feels like he's a generational quarterback, he's a can't miss prospect and all of that type of stuff. You know, I'm not as excited about Caleb Williams as everybody else is. I think there's definitely a fair argument to say that he's the number 1 quarterback in his class. But just between the attitude, I'm worried about the whole RG3 thing and him wanting I don't know, man. Something is making me a little afraid of him. If we ended up getting him, then I'm super happy he's playing for his hometown team. I believe it could truly work. I think he could potentially maybe be I like the Pat Mahomes comps when it comes to his arm, but not the build. This man's 6'1", 250 pounds. I'm not trying to get on him, but you know, I just don't think he's this perfect prospect coming out of college like a lot of people are making him out to be. But I would still be very, very happy to get him. But again, you never know, man. Bears and Cardinals don't necessarily need quarterbacks. And if they want to trade back, like if the Bears with that number 1 overall pick wants to trade back to 3, we're probably first up to do it. We're first in line because, again, if you're the Bears and you want to trade back but still have a great chance of getting at the very least Marvin Harrison or Olu Fashanu, if you move back to 3, you trade back, you allow us to trade up to 1, you move back to 3. At worst, we're taking quarterback, and then the Cardinals are taking Marvin Harrison or Olu Fashanu. So you'll have your pick of at least one of those guys at 3. So I'm pretty sure they will much more prefer to trade back with us than anybody else. Even the Patriots at 4, we would get the highest dibs, and we will also probably have to give up the least amount of trade value in return. Also, before we get up out of here, shouts out my boy Tan Top Podcast for pointing this out. But like, yeah, man, after that Cowboys game, whether it's on Saturday or Sunday, the very next day, like very Monday morning, I need to hear not only Martin Mayhew and Ron Rivera are fired, but I need to hear about the next GMs, few of them, handful, the best ones, all of the candidates coming in for interviews immediately. If we play the Cowboys Sunday, I need to hear about GM interviews on Monday. If we play the Cowboys Saturday, I need to hear about GM interviews on Sunday. That's all I know, man. We better get it together. My dog Josh Harris already went to that little summit that had all of the top GM candidates, at least 42 of them, which are probably the majority of the top ones and all of the ones we want the most, and where all of the owners could talk to those potential GMs, 42 potential GMs. And apparently reports are coming out of there that said that him and David Tepper from the Carolina Panthers, who's awful, made the biggest impressions, were the most active, so probably puts us as the number 1 most liked owner right now that was at that summit. So let's hit this ground running as of Monday morning at the latest, dog. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section, let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, and I mean it, man. Also, Merry Christmas, happy holidays, no matter what you celebrate or even if you don't celebrate at all. Shouts out to all of y'all. I hope y'all have a great day today. I will be very busy, so I recorded this video at night, and then it's coming out at some point in the morning by the time y'all are watching this, and I'm busy before this video comes out, during this video coming out, and after this video coming out. So I'm gonna try my best at any little bit of free time I get. I have my phone or something, I'm gonna try to read and reply to as many comments as possible. So stay tuned. I appreciate y'all being patient with me, because I keep saying I'm trying to reply to comments, but I haven't been able to, and I know a lot of y'all have questions. So hey, man, one thing about it, feel free to ask a question multiple times. I hate that y'all have to do that. Again, I appreciate y'all being patient with me, but like if you feel like you really want your question answered or seen, make sure you put it in multiple videos if you have to. Or I mean, of course, anybody that donates with a question, it like hits my phone with a completely different notification category. I'm gonna see all of those. So man, I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.